Aaron, you're in the voice chat. We gotta do the sword tier list maker right now.
Oh, I wasn't gonna be. I have a problem with not doing things that I feel like are things I like, basically. So I appreciate you remembering.
Yeah,
This
of
is
course.
so exciting.
All right, I'm gonna get. I
That
gotta
one
like
sword
get.
looks like a beta fish.
I gotta zoom in.
I'm gonna-
real. Ooh, that's bad on the stream.
I'm gonna forget some of the names, but I'm gonna try my best.
You're good. You're good. We're gonna. Oh, that's not working at all. That's not how that works. Let me try.
This is so exciting.
When you right click an image, does the window say open image in new tab? Hi, Alejandro.
Let's see. No.
On 4cheese.
Yeah, they're pretty small is the only thing. All right, what do we got though? Here, what if I zoom in here and just scroll down? How we?
Dude. Oh, there's
Oh,
a little
that-
hook
that-
sword. This is
That makes it look
crazy.
bigger, yeah.
We'll try
Oh,
this
there's a.
one
Is that a dagger? Is that just a dagger? Spoilers.
on the
Just-
right?
Spoilers for dagger.
No Kopesh?
Oh, Kopesh isn't here. You're right.
Kopesh? Dude, I'm freaking out of here, man.
Oh yeah, more Louis Zhang. Sorry, I think we lost it somewhere in the.
Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Clayton, you joined just in time for the sword list.
It's sword time, Clayton.
Good. Who's answering for the fucking druid slander?
Why can't
I did not agree to this. I
Clayton
love
said
druids.
who's answering for the druid slander.
hear?
That's Will and Riley, pretty
Yeah,
much.
That's us.
Alright, well, you both are dead to me.
I'm so sorry.
Listen,
Slash
we
J.
have our
Slash
reasons.
J for implication, but
You're good. You're good.
how dare you put monk above druid?
I'll put.
Hey.
I would do that 10 out of 10 times, Clayton. I'm
If
sorry.
it makes you feel better, Clayton, I would put both monk and druid in C, so at least they'd be friends.
Explain to me the criteria. What were we basing this on?
My personal opinions, vibes, characters I played and enjoyed.
Yeah, also, something that was I kept bringing up a lot is, like, druid is, like, a very specific class. Like, it's like you have to be playing a druid to play a druid, whereas there are some other classes that I think are more flexible to different character concepts.
You disagree?
It's all good. Alright. Sarah says, Clayton, you should make your own list and send it in Discord. Great idea, absolutely. Thank you for the call to action, Sarah. Alright, where are we going with this?
time.
We have, what is this, a broad
So that I think that's a Crusader longsword because the cross guard goes up at the end.
Gotcha.
We're
Sick.
about to learn so many cool sword facts. This is gonna be awesome.
It's sword lesson time. Where are we putting this, Aaron?
Crusader longsword, I'm gonna say it like Clayton. I think Clayton agrees. Longswords are very versatile. I really like them for that reason.
Where's the stream happening? Is it
On Twitch.
On Twitch.
Oh, God.
Will Pat plays.
Yeah,
I'll just
like
say something, Aaron.
yeah.
The Crusades were pretty bad. So
They were pretty bad, but the thing I like about them is that they're a little shorter than like a bastard style longsword. It's just other.
wait, there's a sword called a bastard style?
There's a bastard sword in general.
That's
Yeah.
so awesome.
Yeah, so the bastard swords, it's often called like a 1.5 sword because it's basically the one you're looking at, except you have the choice of using one or two hands based on its length
That's
and pommel
cool.
weight. So as you can see, the Crusader one you only have room for one hand. I would say this is meant to be used in conjunction with a shield. I really like them. They're a kind of arming sword. I would put them personally in A or B. Thinking about the way that they're used on their own, they're a lot weaker than other swords. Is the thing. So like, am I thinking of?
Where I was gonna place it.
Yes, so going forward, am I thinking of like how these would be used properly, or am I thinking of the sword on their own in comparison to other blades?
Use properly.
Used properly. So I would say
was
A.
thinking about like how cool and hot these swords
I'm
are.
also
in
thinking
terms of
about that.
somebody.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
between A and B. I'm gonna go A. I think just for how iconic it is.
It's very iconic.
That's so fair.
This is like how
So
most
it's
Blades
gonna
fight.
work for the sword community.
Yeah.
All right. I would also like to take a guess on what kind of sword each one is before we
Okay.
go into
Ooh.
it. I
Okay.
think I could be way off on this. Is this like when you're on a horse? It's like a saber.
Yeah, this is a saber. Specifically, it looks like a Kilij. I do have the for remembering my own vocabulary, I do have like an encyclopedia open in case I forget. But yeah, that is straight up a saber.
So cute.
Sweet.
Yeah, so it's good for both mounted combat and especially with the kind of straightened edge coming off of the crossguard. Very good for saber style fencing because that curvature makes the weight really suited to slashing, which means that it's very good for parry riposte style. There are 5 main parries and it's good at all of them.
Sick. That sounds awesome. We're
Yeah,
fast.
I love.
The only downside to this kind of sword is that any kind of chainmail is going to stop you.
Yeah, I would put it below the Crusader sword.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I would.
A tier below or lower in the same tier?
I don't know. I leave that to Clayton because I'm always really like between these are kind of the 2 main one-handed swords in HEMA, saber and one-handed longsword basically.
Mhm.
And I always get really like I don't know, like they have their styles, but like Clayton said, I feel like its lack of stopping force and cutting and piercing ability against chainmail does put it lower. So I don't know. What do you think, Clayton? What do you think?
I would put it at B for 2 reasons. I think it is similar to the Arming Sword, one of the standards. It's one of the classics.
Yeah,
Anybody who looks at it is going to have seen it at some point in their life. It is not nearly as good at standing as an Arming Sword
Yeah.
is going to be, so you lose out with all of that, and it's best when you have force, which is
Yeah.
a very heavy requirement.
yeah, I would say so. I think like because again, since we Will said it's good to look at it like how they're used properly as their true stat. Like I think that the kind of entry requirement for using this sword at its best puts it below the Arming Sword at its best. Because the Arming Sword, its best is you got a shield man, you got a buckler, you've got a medium shield, like you're good.
Real fast, is anyone else having trouble hearing Clayton, or is that just
Yes.
on my end?
Yeah, I'm having trouble. I got a lot of the important stuff, which is why I was able to comment on.
Gotcha.
Thankfully.
Just sound like really like muddled for some reason.
Yeah.
you know? And like distance maybe.
It is probably because I'm on data and
Oh,
that's
copy.
all I have.
Gotcha.
But I don't know. Usually headphones are better at picking up noise. My AirPods are. What if I do this?
Ooh. I hear something going on. Here, let's move on to the next sword while we figure that out.
Copy.
Yeah.
Copy.
This is a Clayton's at 100% on my audio.
Which is this a?
Is
What
this
This
Uh,
appears to me to be a broadsword.
Oh, gotcha.
Hello?
Ooh, is that?
Oh,
Is
is that
better?
It sounds better, but it's cutting out.
It's choppy.
Okay. I'll give it a second. I'll just
Oh,
put
no,
that.
that sounds good.
Oh, there you
that
are.
sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Clayton's at 200 right now. Thank you, Frederick. Yeah, okay, I was gonna say short sword. What's a broadsword?
I think that one's a broadsword.
Right. Yeah, that looks like a broadsword to me.
Yeah, because broadswords
in-
get their name from the fact that the way they triangulate towards the crossguard gives a lot of structural stability to where it meets the crossguard. So it's kind of triangular shape if you simplify its shape. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But what's it called? That's the kind of the main thing they have over the Crusader longsword is that they were really durable around where the ricasso is, like where it meets the crossguard. And I would basically give them the same score, except for the fact that the lack of their crossguard curving upwards means that it's not good as catching blades that have slid down your sword.
That makes sense.
So I would put it, I think, same tier but lower
Gotcha.
because they're so similar. Yeah.
Interesting. I would have put it A above arming.
Oh, because of the structural stability.
Mostly because like, and this is based purely on the fact that I've been working with broadswords
Yeah.
for hours and hours and hours this week.
Yeah.
And the appeal to me is that I don't need a shield.
You're so right. Yes.
I can just have the sword, and if you're using it correctly, by moving the pommel to manipulate the blade, you basically have your own shield, and it is longer and creates more distance between you and your opponent if that is what you desire.
No, you've won me over immediately. No, I think Clayton's absolutely right. And because we put Saber underneath the arming sword that we already talked about for that purpose, I think it does beat it.
Gotcha. Perfect.
Very cool. Also, feel free to tell me if I'm talking too much. I really like swords.
No,
it's one of my
you're
like
good.
lifelong
You're
hyperfixations.
talking a beautiful amount.
Hook sword. Ah.
Yeah, just cool. Cool
Hi.
sword.
Okay, here's the
I have
thing.
nothing interesting to say about the hook sword other than I love that she's doing what nobody else is doing.
I was gonna
Oh.
say the exact same thing.
Laurel says my rogue has hook swords and they're dumb as fuck. S tier.
Gonna be honest, hook swords are like, honest. I feel, funnily enough, like I feel like sexiness wise, they're appropriately rated. Everyone knows they're sexy, but I feel like viability wise, they're very underrated. A lot of martial artists, and I'm in these little internet circles. I'm always looking at this stuff. They're like, why would I need a hook at the end of my sword? Well, that's the beautiful thing about it is that you it's for hooking. You lose all piercing ability. It is not a piercing weapon, but it is so very similar to the ninjutsu styles used for Kusarigama. The main thing that those were used for is that they're very good. Both the Kusarigama and the hook sword. I'm like standing and pantomiming martial arts so that I can talk about this right. Is that when you're in melee combat, the moment that you've moved a little bit out of range, because that's what sword combat is. It's a lot of back steps in an L-shaped formation with your feet. You're able to catch the other person's advancing foot. That is what they are so good at. So very good at. There's just a lot of versatility. It foregoes a cross guard in favor of a sort of like basket hilt style guard around the entirety of it. Like at the back, there's a spike for stabbing people with the back of it when you're in basically knife fighting range, which increases the amount of chaos to your movements. It's a versatile weapon. I would put it in either low S or high A. I really like the hook sword.
Aaron, I spaced out for a second. Did you touch on the fact
Vivek,
that you can hook the swords together?
Oh yes, that is a big thing.
Because you can hook the swords
you hook
together.
them hook to
and
hook.
string.
Yeah.
Dom's coming out with a hot take. Not gonna lie, I think the hook sword's ugly.
And that's valid.
Okay. Can I say something though? I think that like I'd rather have like there's a line in an AJJ song I listened to earlier that says, I think I like my pretty ugly. And there's something to be said about like, yes, the broadsword is going to be like the Chris Evans of swords. It's going to be like, oh, that's a conventionally attractive sword. I like the hook sword is like, you see the hook sword in a grocery store and you're like, that's a real person. And they're attractive. And I don't see people like that all the time. It's not a Hemsworth. It's not a fucking whatever. You know, like, I just, that's all I'll say. That's all I'll say. She's real to me. She's real to me, you know?
I agree that it is S tier. I would just like to offer this as fully fleshing out the conversation.
Of course.
In my mind, the down sword to the hook sword is A, to effectively use it, especially if you're hooking it onto another hook sword, it requires years and years and years of extra training. And
wow.
Typically, when you are wielding one, if you are only wielding a single hook blade, you're kind of defenseless if you're using it to go after someone's foot, because then you have no blade, no anything protecting everything else for you. So you need either a second hook blade or a dagger or a shield or something.
Got it.
Yeah.
Also, Dom, to answer your comment, we can put Crowbar on this tier list, and I'd put her in S tier.
Yeah,
like,
Crowbar would be
this
S.
is you're saying I could just use a Crowbar, I'd also put Crowbar in S tier.
Also, something I'm missing is Executioner's sword missing? I think it is. That's okay.
It's a
Gotcha.
leaf
Oh,
blade
executioner sword with the blunt or with the rounded tip.
Yeah, it's the rounded tip. They're really good at chopping, and that's all they had to do. That's all they had.
I'm seeing Gladius, but no leaf blade.
Ooh.
There's no
Oh
leaf blade.
yeah, leaf blade.
There's-
Get that guy. in
There's
here.
no Kopesh. There's no executioner sword. They're missing a few.
What's leaf blade?
leaf blade.
Greek
correct.
leaf blade.
Yeah.
Think Sting from Lord of the Rings.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
This is just a bunch of here we go.
I would give a lot of
That's a
similar
Kopesh.
praise to the leaf blade as I did to the Crusader longsword.
Kopesh is like your prototypical Egyptian blade.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's often
Yeah,
called the
yeah.
sickle sword in terms of its like anatomy and etymology. Yeah.
Got it. All right, what are we looking at with this guy? Skinny goes up on one side, down on the other.
That's the Astok! I love the Astok! That's
Who?
what the Astok is what Alucard fights with in
What? This
Castlevania.
Gotcha.
Me, when I'm in the market for sorry gang, I'll come back to that one. I have lost it. We'll circle back.
That's the stock. I love the stock.
A lot of people misidentify the Astok as some kind of rapier, but what they are, structurally speaking, and in martial arts, a pierce-oriented longsword. So
Yeah.
they can still cut, but they're not very good at it. In fact, they're not brittle per se, especially because like steel was pretty good in the region, and also nowadays we have everything made out of like awesome cold steel. But secondly speaking, it's really freaking good at piercing. You can half sword it if you've got a Vambrace or any kind of glove on. It's really long. I really like them.
They are good if you don't want to be fighting.
Yes, they're a very, I would say, get the fuck away from me weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, where are we putting
I don't feel as strongly about it as the stuff we've already put in A tier, so I'm feeling a high B personally.
I would go high B, low A. Well, I don't even know if high B feels right.
Okay,
High B feels right to me.
sweet.
See, I'm running into the problem of like I'm gonna put every single one of these swords in A or B or S.
Yeah.
We
That's
got. Is there like a sword that like we know right off the bat that like it's a bad sword that everybody hates that we can just like toss into F? Can we get like a stick on here?
There
Machete.
are
The machete.
there are certain forms of rapiers where the handguard is open because they are blade breakers, but based on the construction of rapiers in general, usually you hook your finger up into the area where the blade breaker is, which creates the weird problem of I want to control the sword from here, but that's where the opponent blade can go and cut my finger off.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Gotcha.
Good to
so you have
know.
to either choke down on the handle, which I've been trying to learn. It's very difficult.
Lauren says gunblade.
Gunblade.
Yeah.
that did exist, I'm pretty sure.
They do.
Yeah.
Is this a Dao? A Dadao?
This would appear to me to be a Tong Dao. Let me make sure.
Gotcha. What is the
Yep.
the area of origin?
This is from China, and it's what Zuko fights with.
Sweet.
That's
Okay.
This is this
What are
this
these
weapon is
patterns
technically what Filipinos also fought with, because the Pira is just a small Dao.
Gotcha.
What was the thing you said? It's from China and
It's from China. It's technically also from the Philippines, because that's what we call a Pira.
that's right.
That's what our
Um,
niece was
that's
used
right.
for before we replaced it with sticks when the Spanish stole all of our weapons.
Riley also got excited because it's what Zuko fights with.
Yeah.
Yes, these are the Zuko dual blades.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I think honestly, Iroh's quote on them is how I feel about them, which is like they are the two blades that come with a Dao are not two separate weapons. They are one weapon that you use to like unify the movements of the body into a singular action. And I was like, that's great, man. You cast an old man to say some stuff. It's gonna be some good stuff. They're like the wizard man of the show. But what's it called? I'm really biased. This is like what a lot of my martial arts is based around. But looking outside of the bias, it is a very good slashing weapon. Curved single-edged swords are made for slashing. They're not even technically made for cutting. The reason why they're curved is because the moment you have it near them and then you move, they cut good. I personally really like the fighting style around them as well, because when you fight with a Dao, especially there's kind of two contexts: the context of Wushu and the context of Kali. So in
Okay.
China, they are very much about chaining a lot of offensive strings of attacks onto the person, or using the left sword as a kind of parrying dagger. In the Philippines, they somehow double down on that aggression, because there is no parrying or blocking in Kali. There is hitting the other person's arm before they hit you. So
Yep. Shit.
you know how the way parry 5 is taught is that the blades come in from your left side. You're going to do like a kind of like downwards motion with the rapier you're holding, deflect it out of the way, and then do a circle strike on the enemy.
Okay.
Filipino martial arts would just be like, why would I do that when I have 2 swords and I can just hit that same arm right in the elbow before it gets to me, charging into offensive range so that I'm closer to him than his sword would allow him to hit. He doesn't have a knife on him, and I just stab him with my little sword. Like that's how Filipino martial arts is. Like, sorry,
That's awesome.
tangent, but
I-
those are kind of the two main contexts that the Dao or the Pira is used in.
Just to add to the conversation, I
course.
agree with Aaron that Clayton loves the Dao because A, they're sexy, B, they're
Yes.
cool. I think it should go in S, and this is me twirling my hair in my finger as I speak.
So the
I would
fact
just
that-
like to add to the conversation that with the looking into the more Kali style where you have to be super aggressive,
yeah.
it opens you up. Like, to be aggressive, you have to be within range of their weapon, which is just something to note. So you
Yeah.
either have to be very, very fast and very, very good, like Aaron, or
I appreciate that. Oh.
or at best you get a hit in and you're fine. At worst, you get stabbed somewhere in the middle. You attack, you get them, but they have also gotten you.
Yeah. Worst case scenario with the Kali fighting style is a draw, but a draw is in you both died. Isn't you both-
All right. Sounds
So
like
I
we're putting
think-
this at
I think
S.
I'm feeling S.
Everything considered, I do think S is appropriate.
Yay!
Awesome.
And it wasn't just my
Because,
bias that put
I mean,
it there.
Because I mean, like, look at it.
It's cool as
Yeah.
hell.
If at any moment you need me to speed up, by the way, during a sword, I will, because I could give entire week-long lesson plans on these things.
You're good. You're good. I think I will say that
Ooh.
like 10 o'clock is probably around when I want to log off, but
Understood,
until
sir.
then, we are good.
This one's
that-
compact. This one's
Yeah,
that's-
this is a little guy.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that a back sword? Is that a back sword, Clayton? A palish?
It
I
does
think it's-
kind of look like a backsword.
Yeah, it's got the single-handed
Yes.
grip. Yeah, we're all squinting to identify these. The only thing, it looks so much like a backsword. It looks kind of tiny to be one.
Aaron Laurel wants the lecture series on swords.
Oh, I'll probably do that for like if I'm able to put one together before a presentation night someday. Like that's something I would probably
That'd
do.
be awesome.
But yeah. Well, just for time's sake, we'll assume this is like a small palish, a small backsword.
Okay.
So we've talked about kind of 3 things that swords can do. They usually pierce, cut, or slash. Cut and slash are actually different because cut is about like an axe motion of the blade going into the target, while a slash is about the kind of like cutting motion you would do with basically like a kitchen knife and a carrot. It's that like diagonal kind of ease into it that
Oh.
tears itself through stuff.
Okay.
It's so slashing is more about pulling, while
Mhm.
cutting is more about pushing. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So these are really good at that, but that's kind of all they do because as far as they go, they technically have a pistol grip, which makes them good for stabbing. But the actual structure of the weapon is not the same as if you had a pistol grip rapier, which is one of the best piercing weapons. So I feel like this is one of those weapons that like kind of tries to do 2 things really well,
Mhm.
but as a result does both of them okay. And it was first used by cavalry like initially because imagine like being on a horse and then just doing a chopping motion off the side. It makes sense.
Yeah.
But it was later used by infantry as well. The main thing that these were useful for, other than what I've already complimented for them, is that they're really cheap to make. This is a smaller one than they typically make, but they were typically small, and the single edge and just the bevel on the back of the false edge just made them cheap. It was really cheap to make. So I would probably put them. This might be our first C tier. Like I feel really middling about the backsword.
C was where I was thinking as well.
Feels
Yeah.
right to me.
Because it'll do the job.
Yeah,
All right, what are we looking at here?
that is a traditional Chinese straight edged two-edged sword. I forget the exact name.
Oh, it's something IAN?
She has some very fun detailing on her.
Is it CIAN, Shan? I
I'm
don't
looking it up
know
real
how to
quick.
pronounce Mandarin or Cantonese, so correct me if I'm wrong. It's the I've read the name. It's like IAN. It's the Mulan sword.
Yo, you're absolutely right. I was just double checking. It is spelled Jian in Pinyin,
J.
which is the Romaji for Mandarin. This is pronounced the Jian. It's pronounced technically DZ and then Ian. Jian,
Zin.
Jian.
Jian.
And then if you're saying it in
Jian.
English, a lot of people just say the Jian
Jump.
or the Jian. Jian is much closer.
Okay.
So
Sweet.
and I will be saying it in English for the rest of the time. But the Gen has all of the same compliments that we gave the one-handed arming sword, the Crusader longsword from earlier.
Mhm.
The main plus side this has is that it was a lot easier to maneuver. So you know how the crossguard does get in the way of the motions your wrist is allowed to do?
Yeah.
This forgoes that option for defense while still keeping it. As you can see, it still does have a crossguard
Yeah.
for the ability to do more of those circular motions. That's why Wushu looks so fancy, is because there's a lot of that circular motion. As a result, I feel like that kind of puts it around the same sword ability as the Crusader longsword, but because we were giving the Crusader longsword extra points for being used with a shield, this does put it like right in between the two. So like, or rather right below it, I mean, right below the Crusader one. So all A tier, all very similar weapons, but
Mhm.
it does kind of like pay for one stat in favor of maxing another.
Got it.
Okay, but hear me out. It's
Yes.
sexy.
It is sexy.
It is
It
very
is sexy. Is it sexier than the other A tiers?
I say absolutely.
It's sexier than the broadsword.
I'd be inclined to agree with you that it is. I
Yeah.
think it's sexier than all of these because have you guys seen these used? They're great. Like it's like a freaking like it's like watching an anime character move. Like,
We'll pump it up.
yeah, we could pump it
I'm
up
good,
for sexy
I'm good
points.
with it anywhere in A.
Yeah.
Anywhere in A feels
Anywhere in
correct.
A. Yeah.
Sweet. All right.
Looking at the clock. Okay, cool. Okay.
What do we got here? We got.
So that is actually
Ooh.
that is a tachi, I believe. Let me look at the. No,
How
zoom in.
long is it? Because it
No,
looks
that's.
like
let
a
me-
big sword.
Could you scroll right? I want to make sure that I'm not getting this wrong because I'm trying to compare it to other weapons in the. That's an odachi, I think.
So we got a couple other, yeah.
Yeah, that one's an odachi. So that is the Japanese equivalent to the Zweihander.
Ooh,
But it is
got
used in a very different way because it does not have a wide crossguard. You cannot half sword it, and it is curved with a single edge. So it's got a lot of the same benefits while being really, really different at the same time.
Hmm.
I really like the odachi for the same reasons I like the Zweihander. A lot of people think of them as, oh, great swords are heavy, right? No, in a lot of ways they were made with lightweight frames by making the blade thinner than you might think otherwise. And as a result, a lot of the martial art is based around circular motions because otherwise you'd cut yourself. So it's a lot of like having it over your right elbow if you're right-handed in the wrath position, swinging that over and then spinning it around the back of your body and then putting it back over in the diagonal from the left to bottom right plane. Now, that may sound like a negative for a moment. It's like, oh, but then the sword's behind you for a bit. It's not, because that means that you just cover this wide range all around you, and that's kind of the name of the game with great swords, which is one reason they were so good for infantry combat, because you had both hands open, obviously. But that being said, I do think that in a way it lacks versatility in favor of that kind of area covered by the sword. So preemptively putting Tachi above Katana and then Katana above Odachi, I would put Odachi in B tier.
Gotcha. Wait. In which tier?
B, the
B,
one we're
gotcha.
currently looking, or B, yeah.
Great. Any preference in high or low, mid?
Oh, what do we have there already? Anywhere in B is fine, to be honest. I would probably put it in between those two.
Okay. Sweet.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Next.
That's
Ooh.
personal bias, but
Yeah.
that's where it's going. But we can't discuss.
Honestly, like that's valid. I really like them.
Which one is this?
Which one is this? Oh,
This appears to be a cutlass based on where the curve.
Okay.
I have a question.
Stops.
Oh.
Was this actually like historically a pirate sword? Because I feel like we see it in a lot of like pirate media, so I'm just curious.
So the naval cutlasses didn't look quite like that. That's kind of like a
Naval Cutlass is
that's kind of like a platonic ideal of it. So like make sure that we could tell the difference between it and a scimitar. But naval cutlasses were used by pirates, corsairs, anybody on the high seas
anyone. Yeah.
during the 17th century, like Age of Exploration. Like it was a pirate sword. The
awesome.
main
I'm gonna show my ass a little bit here. I did go into this putting it at S tier, thinking it was a falchion.
falchions
Are
Do we have a
different.
Falchions
falchion on
are
this
different.
list?
I didn't see a falchion on this list.
Wishful thinking.
Alas.
I
Okay,
know.
continue on the cutlass.
This is so awkward. You have to like uninvite her to the party
I
now.
do. I gotta look up.
Oh, there's the Didact. Okay.
I mean, scroll up again. It could be because I think it's kind of in perspective,
Mhm.
but I think the fact that it has a cross guard rather than a basket hilt does make it a falchion. And it's the only reason I didn't think it was a falchion, and I think same reason Clayton did, is that it's not very straight. Falchions are typically pretty straight up into
Yeah.
that curved part, but that might be what they meant for it to be. So if we want to call this like this tier list version of a falchion, we could keep it there.
I'm good either way. It sounds like they're in the same area.
Yeah, they're like better back swords.
I once used a falchion in a play and said I loved it because it was felt like a
Yeah.
signature weapon to me. So
Yeah,
it's
let's
got a
go with
special
this
place.
being the falchion and keep it there. I would say.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah.
Any notes on the falchion?
And also the falchion, it's like you remember
There's
everything I said about the back sword, and then I kind of shat on it before. This just does all of that, but good. As well as the curved motion that we mentioned for saber earlier.
Got it.
Like that's what I would say about it. It's really good at cutting, but the curve it has at the end makes it pretty good at slashing. First of all, adding in those circular motions to your martial arts. But the only thing it forgoes in favor of that is that it's not very good at stabbing anymore. But honestly, I think that this is a better use of that shape.
Yeah, Laura, metal bat would be an S tier weapon.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I
Real.
personally put aluminum bat in S tier.
All right, what's next?
All right. What's next?
Is this like the small side one that?
No, that's later in the list. That's
Okay.
the wakizashi is right after the rapier.
Gotcha. What's this one then?
I will let Aaron take point on all of these.
Let me just peek at it. That's I forget what you're called. That's the ninjas like these ones. What's it
This is
freaking
close as I can
called?
Get you.
It's
Ooh,
I think it's
like that she's got.
it's called it is literally called a ninjato. It's called a
Okay.
ninja in American in Southern California English. It's called a ninjato.
a ninjata.
Yeah, ninjato.
Ninja.
Yeah. So these were how do I put this? They were used by ninjas, as you could probably tell from the title. They're used by the shinobi of feudal Japan, but they're really popular in like pop culture as a result. Like a lot of like ninja video games star this weapon. But the main thing they're really good at is like stabbing people because it's got a straight edge, and the other thing it's really good at is like slitting necks basically because it's a stealth weapon. This is the reason why it's black in this picture is that it would be like hard to see in the cover of night. It would reduce that glint by a lot. This is the first time we've had color be a stat for one of these weapons and why it's good. But what's it called? Yeah, I think it's really hard to rank this in comparison to the other ones as a result.
Mhm.
But the fact that we're talking about like what's the context it's used in,
Yeah.
did it do it good? I would say yes. So
Also, it's goth. That's extremely appealing to me.
yeah. So for me personally, I would say high B, low A. But the sexy points do probably send it straight into A tier. I would say.
I give it A.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right.
I give it a little kiss.
Oh, thank God I could find it. I would be so embarrassed if I missed an Asian weapon. I was gonna be like, no. I'm feeling my ancestors.
All right. What comes next?
this is a katana because they didn't put the tachi in. I would have ranked the tachi above the katana if it were present. But
Got it.
yeah. So remember, see, this is fun because the later we get into the tier list, I can just rehash stuff.
Yeah.
C longsword. This is like a longsword, but what you do is you forego having the double edge and the ability to hit with that back edge with the circular motions over your head, Geralt of Rivia style. For slashing, for maneuverability, for speed, for bleeding. These were they're like thinking about the context these were used in is that sure, you know, sharp metal stick, it's gonna make you bleed.
Yeah.
The way that these were folded were not done just to make it so that you could use iron to make something that's as good as steel. They were also done so that you could have a very fine razor edge, and that's what people. I was waiting until we got to katana to talk about what Lauren said in the chat, which is why a lot of people say the best weapon for a zombie apocalypse is a katana, is typically because they can get, like, it doesn't require as much of a strength stat to do really deep cuts.
Got it.
Granted, I would say that doesn't make it the best for a zombie apocalypse because zombies don't care if they're bleeding. It would the reason why a lot of people vouch for that, quite frankly, is because of Walking Dead. But secondly, because that would mean that it was good at completely segmenting limbs from someone who's already been deteriorated, flesh-wise. Which is what they're good at. These were the same weapons used as executioner's swords for the ritual of seppuku, because they were so good at cutting through sinew, cutting past cartilage, cutting through stuff. That is what it was known for. That's why lightsabers are based off katanas, is because they cut through the thing. Yeah. So me personally, I put it in S tier. I'm very biased. This is the first martial art I learned because I learned the Korean katana styles in Tang Soo Do. But yeah, I really like it. I would put it above Hook Sword personally, but as far as versatility goes, it probably is actually under Hook Sword. But yeah.
Got it. Oh, Charlie, hello. Someone
who's already been
deteriorated flesh-wise. I do think on a... Go on, Aaron.
No, I'm just laughing. I'm making Aaron noises.
On a slight tangent, I do think that zombies should care more about bleeding, because obviously depending on the way the zombie works, right? But the human body is largely a hydraulic system, correct?
That's true.
Like where the blood is in the human body really does a lot. It's not just like moving the oxygen around, it's moving muscles around too. So maybe
the reason I said this because I don't know if zombies' hearts beat, but that depends on the way they're written, I suppose.
Yeah, it's tough. I don't know.
Can a zombie feel like?
Spy handler.
This is Clayton's field, guys.
The thing about spy handlers, we've talked about a little bit before. They are a two-handed sword. They are very big. They are usually some of the larger swords that you will find in the battlefield. What I know them for, and what I like, is that they're very good at the German sword fighting style, Zwerchau and Klumpau, which is different because normally when you are fighting with a sword, you align the hilt, the crossguard, with your hand so that it is in the same plane. When you're fighting in Zwerchau and Klumpau, you rotate that 90 degrees so that it is the other way. And then you hold it above your head. And it's very hard to describe. I can send a video afterwards.
Okay.
But you hold the sword above your head and just kind of swing it like a helicopter blade.
This feels awesome.
So it is really good at just getting very massive movement, powerful swings in, and keeping the area in front of you and around you clear of anything alive. The downside to this specific fighting style is that leaves your entire torso, legs, everything else unprotected as long as somebody is able to get in close. But then you can also always swap to a more traditional fighting style where you're just holding it. I would put a spy handler at like a high B, low A. They're very good at what they do. They're big. They can get kind of heavy.
Let's go low A. Clayton counterpoint. I'm small. This seems like a big sword. That's from Charlie.
Yeah, this sword would be like typically 5 to 6 feet long.
Yeah, they're really long. They're also known as the Montant.
That's a person.
Yeah, they're like a person high.
They're big. Rapier.
Rapier. I think
Rapier.
rapier may be the sword that I have the most experience with, not from a historical perspective, but purely from a
Then I want to hear you talk about it then.
Oh boy, it's pointy. It's fast.
Oh, so true.
It's fast. There is a lot of. I think the reason that it works so well on stage, again, this is going to be the perspective that I bring into it, is because it is light, it is fast, it is easy to use and maneuver. It's got a great look, like that. The guard looks amazing right there. And again, I'm coming from this from a purely theatrical perspective.
Of course, yeah.
The sound, you get a lot of great sounds out of a rapier fight.
Ooh.
It's like hitting a tuning fork.
Slash. And you can do the full parry. You can get caught up against each other. They slide off and make an amazing noise. I think that's most everything I got.
I agree.
The good thing about rapiers as well, sorry to jump in, is that they are sort of a good in between of a broadsword, a longsword, and a short sword. They give you the reach and distance of a longer blade, but because the blade is thinner and the sword itself is lighter, you are able to wield it with just one hand, allowing you a offhand parry dagger or buckler shield or what have you. So they are, like Will said, very good at being able to go in quick, keep the opponent at a distance. They are very easy to maneuver. I would go high A, low S.
Also, shout out to it being the weapon of every single D&D rogue. Because it's the one kind of I'm sure there's more, but it's the best finesse weapon. For even if you're I'd like to use a dagger, you're but I also want to do a D8 of damage.
Yeah.
Charlie says, I can pick it up. This increases deadliness tenfold. Also, the last point I will make on the theatricality of the rapier is that the audience knows exactly where the deadly part is. The audience knows right where the danger is. And when that danger happens on stage, the audience understands.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, so where do we decide? High A?
High A feels right.
I agree.
Gotcha.
I'd admit A.
Yeah.
I forget what we've put
I'll put
where.
it right next to the long sword.
Yeah. There's a reason that people have been using these for hundreds of years.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're good at what they do.
It gets a little bit of sexy points. It's sexy and kind of classy,
It's sexy in a snobby way.
Yeah.
Because it's French, honestly.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if it's originally French, but that's always I associate with Three Musketeers. So.
Aaron?
Hugh Grant.
This is a wakizashi. You guys know the parrying dagger? It's it's like that, but it's also really good at making you bleed in the same manner that a katana is.
Gotcha.
I really like them. I like to put this right next to the katana, right below it, obviously, because of the range decrease. Although the fact that it's shorter, but it's not dagger length. Dagger length means that you suddenly forgo all this reach for the fact that there are now a million angles that you can't calculate. It is technically a short sword as far as its length goes.
Got it.
But yeah, so I right below katana is how I feel about it. That's a hot take amongst even Eastern martial artists, but see Niten Ichiryu, see asterisk Miyamoto Musashi, the greatest swordsman to ever live. He was a wakizashi plus katana combo guy, and that's where I'm going for it. I would say more, but we got 60 seconds to do this lightning round.
Yeah, I think we can go past 10, but I do think we have to enter lightning round.
Yeah.
Basket hilted. Sorry.
That's no, you're right. That's a basket hilted.
Basket hilted broadsword. I would put low B because it is just a broadsword, and what you gain in protection for your one hand you lose in maneuverability and you lose in excess weight.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
very limited.
Its handle
Yeah.
is kind of like a WWE fight cage, which is all
It is
I
super.
found about it.
Yeah, I've never been big on basket hilted swords. I agree. That
They
all of
look
that.
cool. They look awesome. Hilly in Chico's Monsters had one. It looked great.
Yeah.
Red wielded it very well. They get in the way.
This
This
sword
is-
looks like a beta fish. That's
This
my
is- This is a
word.
This is a Dakan Dao specifically. It is a Dao that has like kind of like a cleaver shape to it, basically. They're chopping weapons. Where did we put the back sword?
Oh. Oh, see?
Guys, where did we put the backsword?
Um,
It's right behind
Put it-
me, isn't it?
put it in C above the back sword. It's like a better back sword.
Gotcha. This is, man, ask real fast. This one's got a little, like sword catch, like a hilt to it. One on the
Yeah.
front to protect your hand, and one to catch stuff on the back.
Yeah, that's why I say it's better. That and it has a longer handle.
Yeah, which gives you extra
Charlie
reach.
has been censored for bullying, for saying fucks.
No.
All right, back down. Where we
Back
at?
down. All right, let me see.
Where are we?
Stream's catching up. This is I think this is a Samshir. I get the Samshir and the Khaleej confused all the time. Put this right above wherever we put the other Middle Eastern saber.
Ooh, was that? Where are we?
Good night,
In B.
Lauren.
Is that this one right
She's
here?
very beautiful. She's got a great curve.
Yeah, put it right. Yeah, right there. There we go.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, that feels right.
Yeah, we've basically
just
said
the
everything
same
about that
thing.
weapon already. Yep.
Yeah,
Take
it's
a sec.
good with horses. It's good at slashing.
It's good with horses. That's great animal handling.
Who's this guy?
I thought we did you already.
Yeah. I thought
This is a
we-
bastard sword. This is
This is the best.
it's a bastard
gotcha.
sword because look, you have room for a second hand. Where did we put the last longsword we put in?
I think it was an A tier.
It's better than that one.
Bastard
also
sword
to
is
say,
sort of
what's
the
her
is the
full
middle
name?
child between broadsword and Zweihandler.
Yeah, put it right below the Chinese Dian.
Like the
I would
fact
say.
that like you could give this sword to like a like bastard throwaway heir of a kingdom and like fun symbolism there. I enjoy that.
One of my favorite depictions of Mordred uses a bastard sword, and I think that's intentional.
Is this just
Streaming
a
cat.
machete?
This is a machete. This is a straight up machete.
Got it.
C
Can I say?
D.
Oh wow! That is the opposite of what I was gonna say.
It's
Secret-
good. It's a tool. It's not a weapon. It's a tool.
But I see that gives it pluses to me.
I
would-
guess.
I as a sword, I would put it in D. I really hate to say.
Yeah.
Wow.
It has no range. There's barely any power to it.
There's no guard.
It's a really tough day for the common people, for the common knives.
I believe the only South American representation on this list.
Yeah.
No,
wow.
I'm joking.
Wow.
Yeah, we don't got like a Mikasa in here.
What do we got here?
That's a dagger.
Cool. Where is it going?
Mm,
What is this?
I think just a dagger is.
B
Dagger.
for baby sword.
B.
Yeah.
Low B
Feels-
for baby sword. Low B.
Low B?
Daggers. They are just they're a good extra.
Okay, you got it. Jake's is totally off topic, but I just found out Viego from League of Legends has a wife named Isolde.
Oh my god.
Is Viego Tristan?
Jake says Italian. What kind of sword does he have? V and Isolde in every world. Oh, that's true. Yeah, it is V and Izzy. Wow. I didn't
Wow.
even put that together. I saw the All right, what do we got here? Another saber
Yeesh.
type or something?
Yeah, that's a saber. That's a European saber.
Yeah.
Where did put it between the other two sabers we talked about? The other-
Sabers are sabers. We
Yeah.
know what to do.
they're really similar. The
Yeah.
main benefit that European ones had is that they had that guard going over the knuckles, but it meant that they were shorter.
I don't know where the other saber went. Or maybe these are all sabers.
They are. You got it. You're so
Gladius.
Honestly, this is a weak point knowledge-wise for me, gotta say. Didn't do
Okay.
a lot of the
Here's
Greek
the
martial
thing.
arts.
Here's the thing. The thing about the gladius is that it was not a primary weapon. In the
I didn't
Roman
know
Legion,
that at all.
in the Roman Legion, a typical soldier was given I'm forgetting the specific Latin names, but they were given a javelin, or 2 or 3, whatever it was. They had their shield. Once they threw their javelin, that is when they drew the gladius. And the gladius is really good when you have 10 other guys with shields and gladiuses next to it. Because it's basically just a really big dagger, in the way that, like, it's not super long, it's really great at stabbing, and you can use it to, like, with a shield, getting around your shield or around their shield. The cutting is decent. It's just like a standard arming sword, short sword.
Yeah. All right,
I would put it B, C. The Gaius Maximus in me is screaming right now, but
All right, low B. Real quick before we get to the last one, what kind of sword does this League of Legends guy use?
Pretty sure he uses a Zweihander. There you go.
CTC? Wait, where is it? Gotcha.
Hold on, my cat's been covering my screen for the last 20 minutes. I gotta.
Jake, where'd you put it?
It might be in chit chat.
It is in chit chat.
DCTC, yeah.
It's a really anime Zweihander, and he's constantly
Oh, shit, yeah.
For style, he's holding it where you're supposed to half sword it, which is where you hold it above the hilt for extra leverage.
Gotcha.
And then when it's tiny, when it does the tiny thing, it's kind of like a dagger.
I don't know. I want to show it to the Discord, to the stream, but I am sorry.
Yeah.
no worries.
All right, last one. Big
I've been-
longsword. What is this?
I've been fearing this moment because I have no idea who he is. This is like a long sword. You remember what we said about the bastard sword, where it's just it's a long sword that has room for a second hand. This is like a bastard sword plus, like it has room for a third hand.
Yeah.
I imagine it's for leverage. I've not seen this before.
I've seen them around. I don't know what the practical use is. I'm sure there is something, but in my mind, that it's a broadsword, but there's an extra foot of thing that could get in the way of your elbow or your own body that removes its maneuverability. This actually might be the sword that was meant for Chow Krum Pao, just to give you the extra reach up top.
Oh, I see.
I would put it below any of the other. I would put it like
We're
low
ending it on
B,
F
C.
tier. We're giving one F tier in here. It's
Yeah.
whatever this
F.
sword is.
F for being a fucking
Whatever that
nobody.
one
That's what the F stands for.
Alright.
Would you guys like me to link the sword encyclopedia I was
Yeah,
accessing?
sure.
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm gonna put it in VCTC.
Awesome.
There
Aaron,
you go.
I had so much fun talking swords
Yeah,
and
that was
having you
awesome to
was
hear you guys
amazing,
do
yeah.
that. That was so sick.
Thank you. I was really scared and I felt really supported.
Great, awesome.
It also felt really good to be like, oh, I know this one. Oh, I don't know that one, but Aaron knows that one.
Yeah,
But-
I relied on you guys for Rapier, Gladius, and this one, and also for Zweihander. I know a lot less about Zweihanders than Clayton does. Like a lot less, like a significant amount.
Listen, I know less than you think I do.
And
but we've
was
talked about
happy to say which swords were the most kissable.
Yeah. It also was personally really grounding because I get so caught up in being a combat nerd that Gio's like, you know what? No, it does deserve sexy points. I never really looked at him that way.
Yeah, it turns out that the sword love of your life has been living next door to you this whole time, and you just never really realized it.
Oh my god.
Alright, thanks so much for hanging out, everybody. I loved having you guys
Yeah.
on voice chat.
Yeah, thank you.
Improving their knowledge. Thanks for everyone who was in chat today. I just had a great time. It was a super fun stream.
Likewise.
Awesome. Thank you for doing this, Will.